So here we are. Welcome to AEW Del Mar-Leucadia. And if you haven't already figured out, I'm Linda Quinby. I'm the branch president and today's speaker. So let's see. I'm just checking here for.
I don't know now whether I am muted, and I cannot see the little thing that tells me.
Okay, so
Charlotte.
you are not muted. So
Okay. I'll see if I can do that without seeing.
yeah, I was going to see if I can mute it.
I should have done it before. Okay. I'm going to touch this.
Okay, so.
Oh, I'll be very quiet. I won't say a word.
Okay.
That's the only problem with people not being muted. They forget and they start talking, or, as long as my phone won't ring or something.
Okay. All righty. Well, I will proceed. So just for those of you who are guests, who we are, AUW is a national organization promoting equity for all women and girls. And Del Mar-Leucadia branch serves the coastal communities of North San Diego County mostly. Our philanthropies include national grants and fellowships, local scholarships to college women, and sponsorship of middle school girls to attend AUW's Tech Trek Science Camp. So our branch activities include program meetings like this one, and lots of interest groups that meet monthly or most months, book clubs, dining groups, Great Decisions Study Group, Bridge, and more. Oh, and Bridge meets twice a month, of course. Upcoming events. We're working on a plan for a holiday social on December 2nd, so stand by. In January, we're taking a special tour of the Museum of Making Music here in Carlsbad. And the end of January, the 27th, we have a San Diego Interbranch Council annual luncheon, which is open to members of all branches, all 7 branches in San Diego County. And our featured speaker will be Parisa Ejadi Magsudi, who is the chair of the San Diego County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. So now for the fine print. This talk is being recorded and will be available on our AUW Del Mar-Leucadia YouTube channel, which can be accessed through our website. Question and answer period will be at the end, but you can enter questions in the chat at any time during the talk, and I'll do my best to answer them at the end. So please silence any devices or housemates, 4-legged or 2-legged, and please stay muted during the presentation to avoid any background noise. So turn off your video if you would like to save bandwidth and reduce the possibility of video freeze or dropout, and that will also avoid your being seen on the recording if you wish. So with that, welcome to Solving Family Mysteries with DNA. Thank you all for attending, including members, cousins, friends, and guests. I hope this case study will provide you with some ideas and inspiration for solving your own family mysteries. Full disclosure on this, I originally presented this case study in a talk entitled Cousin Power, using 21st century tools to chip away at a 19th century brick wall, for the North San Diego County Genealogical Society Spring Seminar, Digging In with DNA, in April of 2023. But since then, I've added and revised some portions of this presentation. About me, I'm a longtime member of AEW. I won't tell you how long, because, oh my gosh, I might actually give away my age. I'm current president of AEW Del Mar-Leucadia. I'm a retired manager and contracting officer's technical rep for NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base. I'm a member and periodic speaker of the North San Diego County Genealogical Society, and I'm an avid reader, traveler, and researcher of family history. So this is a story of the power of DNA cousin matches. The most common matches you get when you test your DNA are matches to first, second, third, or fourth cousins who have had their DNA tested. Since DNA testing has not been around that long, you're not likely to get a match to grandparents or great-grandparents unless you were very young and the grandparent was alive to do a DNA test. However, as you may know from your own experience or from books like The Foundling and The Stranger in My Genes, which I just recently read, or from true crime shows on TV and news articles, cousin matches can be used to confirm relationships, identify unknown or misidentified parentage, and solve crimes. Today's story is about how those cousin matches can also be used to identify a distant ancestor and solve family mysteries. But it's also a story of the power of distant cousins working together. Here, I'd like to give a shout out to my DNA cousins and collaborators. Carol Johnston Snow, I know, is online. Hi, Carol. She was the instigator of our Johnston-Johnson research project, our primary DNA match analyst and collaborator on this talk. Also, Marilee Ford was a research collaborator, especially with DNA matches and land records. And there are numerous other cousins who provided their DNA and access to their matches to help in this project. I'm the storyteller today, but the research was definitely a group effort. So, in the early days of this project, I was having lunch with a friend and mentioned that I was trying to find my third great-grandfather through DNA. How can you do that, she asked, when you don't have his DNA? Later, in a talk by Kitty Cooper, a prominent genetic genealogist, speaker, and blogger, she said that this is one of the most frequent questions she gets. It's true that my third great-grandfather is not available to spit in a tube. But we do have our ancestors' DNA in us. We inherit a random half of our DNA from each parent, who inherited a random half from each of their parents, and so on. As shown in this chart, working backward in time, we have less and less of a particular ancestor's DNA with each successive generation. We have approximately 50% from each parent, 25% from each grandparent, 12.5% from each great-grandparent, 6.25% from a second great-grandparent, and just about 3% from a third great-grandparent. So I don't have much of my third great-grandfather's DNA, but I have some, as do my cousins who are descended from him, which is why we come up as matches on DNA tests. So here's an overview of the case study I'm sharing today. It started with one DNA cousin match on Ancestry. The initial contact, what we knew and what we didn't. Then came the quest, making connections, sharing and comparing DNA data and family trees, using various tools, including Scalpel, to visualize and make sense of our matches, and doing lots of traditional genealogical research on the matches we found. Then, one of the high points of the project, a family reunion over 150 years in the making. Then I'll talk about where we are now, some remaining questions and possible next steps. And I'll wrap up with a summary of the tools and resources we used, the benefits of collaboration, and some guiding principles. So my part in this project started with an ancestry match and a message from Carol Johnston Snow on December 2nd, 2019, stating that we were a match. Some things I noticed about her message. She'd clearly done her homework and indicated how we were most likely related, including surname variations, Johnson, Johnston, and Johnstone. I'll tend to use Johnson in this talk. The locations, Ohio and Illinois, but in particular, Pike County, Illinois, which turned out to be a significant key to our connections. my likely related ancestor, Sarah Johnson, and the time period, 1850s and 1860s. And she compliments my tree. So of course I responded. Coincidentally, we discovered we both live in North San Diego County, about 15 miles from each other, and we're both members of the North San Diego County Genealogical Society. So 1 month later, in January 2020, we met in person at the Carlsbad City Coal Library after a society meeting. And then came COVID. So virtually all the rest of our collaboration was done, well, virtually. This is the original ancestry match. What I noticed. First, isn't she cute? That's Carol in first grade. Second, she has a robust family tree with 5,668 people. As for the match, Ancestry says we're probably 4th to 6th cousins. We share 43 centimorgans, and the match is on my paternal side. At this point, you may be saying, what the heck is a centimorgan? Well, in genetics, a centimorgan is a unit for measuring genetic linkage. Simply put, the higher the number of shared centimorgans, the closer the relationship. The table gives you an idea of what the number of centimorgans means based on my own DNA matches. As with any child, I share about 50% of my DNA with my mother. No surprise. In my case, 3,445 centimorgans. I share about the same percentage of my DNA with my brother, but of course about half of that is from our mother and half from our father. And then my first cousin, I share about 15%, my second cousin's 3 to 4%, and with Carol, I share less than 1%, 43 centimorgans. So the match with Carol is relatively small, but it's enough to indicate that she and I do indeed have a shared ancestor. And that's all we really need to know about centimorgans to understand this project and the data I'll be presenting. If you were hoping for a graduate seminar in biochemistry and genetics, I'm afraid you're out of luck. So once you've taken a DNA test and seen your DNA matches with the number of centimorgans shared, there are various tools